Welcome all our peeps, recording on
Hi.
both sides.
We are so back.
We're so back. I don't know even what category to put our conversations in besides the overarching umbrella.
Multidimensional. All of the above.
Yes, yes, yes. Where do you want to start? Where do you want to start to catch up? There's been so much.
Yeah, let's catch up. I don't think I've talked we've had the seat at the table of enlightenment. Maybe we talk about that. I'd love to know the kind of genesis between that. Those have been also good. I love these touch points in time because you really understand the passage of time and shifts that way. We could talk about this maybe first. But
Yeah.
I'm interested in my selfish agenda in this. I'm interested in catching up because I feel like I haven't talked to you in a million years. Projects, like what are the exciting projects that you have in front of you?
Oh yeah.
And maybe we can talk about like dharmic momentum. I feel like that's been a buzzword that my peers have been thinking about for a while, and I feel like this is a good time for dharmic momentum.
Okay, I want to hear what your definition of dharmic momentum is. Give me an example.
Are we starting there?
Yes.
I'll explain it. I'll borrow one of my peers, just Jin's terms. Like, what are the things that you do to maximize your dharma per square inch? Like in your decision making in your lives, what things you choose to engage in, take on, short term, long term. Like, it's a very interesting question that I've been reflecting on in many ways about what's my menu of things I'm working on? Is that giving me dharmic momentum? And actually how my decision making actually works. I'd never actually written it out. Like, how do I decide this over that? And I realized I actually had like a matrix that I would follow, but I've never thought about it. So I'm like, oh, I'm curious what other people's are now.
Oh yeah. What's your matrix? What's your little
Oh, I was going to ask you to use first, or do you need time to think of yours?
No, I can go. I can go.
All
Definitely.
right.
It makes me think of this Dharma momentum, makes me think of what I heard Oprah share on her little podcast thing the other day. And she was talking about how Maya Angelou told Oprah that she's very obedient and she's very obedient to the call. And I was like, ooh, yes. And so when I hear dharmic momentum, I think that, and I've been reflecting on that. I was like, yeah, how have I been obedient to the call? Because I don't think of myself as obedient necessarily. I think this
Yeah.
path and practice puts us in a very rebellious, maybe go against the grain, salmon
Yeah.
swimming upstream kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, obedient to the call, which is very much what I feel like I am working on now in my life. And that looks like a lot of sovereignty. And I've been using and loving that word a
Good
lot.
word. Wait, I have to look up the definition of sovereignty because the
Great,
word
great,
I
great.
use a
Please.
lot is
Yes.
agency, which I feel like is a related word.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yes. I'd love to hear the definition. But
Oh yeah, I like
what does
yours
it
is
say?
like the more powerful version of mine. Like ability to establish laws and absolute uncontrollable power within a state to govern itself, establish laws, and act independently without external interference. That tracks your vibe.
Yes, yes.
Sovereignty.
Sovereignty and how that looks like, and as I carve out more sovereignty in my life, is where am I really giving myself the freedom and spaciousness to just authentically be, yeah, vibe the call of
Yeah.
awakening and enlightenment and truth and light. That is so fascinating because I think in the beginning of the whole journey, as think of light and awakening as this very beautiful, had a little frou-frou, puppy rainbow sunshine vibe. But
Yeah.
if I look back upon that, there was definitely some blood, sweat, and tears. There was definitely some pain and suffering and brokenness of broken bones, or whatever you want to call it, broken heartedness, that
Yeah.
really brings me up to this point where sovereignty and being obedient to the call doesn't necessarily look like everyone's happy,
Yeah.
everyone's laughing. It can actually look like disappointment in someone else, right?
Yeah.
Because I am so clearly recognizing that that is not my responsibility to carry for them, whatever their thing is, whatever their mission or their next thing in life is. And I'm happy to like cheer or be on the side, support in that way. But I even want to be cautious about the word support, because the support can also very easily take on their backpack, if you will, as they're hiking up the mountain. And for certain situations, that's relevant, and that is a skillful means. But also, it's not a all the time thing. And I think that's the thing about being sovereign to oneself, is there's no one template. That's like, okay, for this person, I always use a color blue. And for this one, I always color black here. And it's like you said, this multidimensional access in our consciousness and our being that then looks at each situation as like, no, I really feel intuitively and clearly aligned to do this with it. And people might on the outside be like, oh, you're being such an asshole. And you're like, I don't want to be an asshole.
Like, that's my sovereignty.
I don't want to be an asshole. And it makes me for a minute pause. I'm like, oh, okay, hold on, let me check. Because I'm not intentional. I want to be malicious or harmful. That's not at all what I feel is being obedient to the call. Yeah. But sometimes being that light and truth feels very much like being an asshole. And that's even like words, I feel like doesn't really explain it, because it makes it so dualistic and limited.
Because there's like a state. So this leads me to two questions. Because one is like the project. So like, how does the sovereignty do into projects? Let's get there in a moment. But I'm interested in this first part, going back to dharmic momentum. So your sovereignty is like creating, a way of articulating, like creating the space to like heed the call.
Yeah.
But how do you know? Because so you get a call. How do you know, is that the right call? How do I stack rank the call against this other thing I was doing? Like, that's where the dharmic momentum gets interesting. So I'm curious on your answer to that. Like, you're creating the space for it. I love that. We could probably do a whole podcast just on that. But like, when it crystallizes into something, or it's the inkling of something, it's kind of a seeing question too. Like, oh, the call is this, but like, what if this is in conflict with this thing that I'm doing? And like, how do you sort of like, what's your process of...
I know. It's a great question. It makes me think of some of the things that I see pop up on my Instagram feed with Bashar, the spiritual teacher Bashar. I don't know if you know of him, but anyways, I think I think it's a gentleman who channels this entity, is my understanding, and this higher dimensional being, right? He's like, it's very easy, because people go up and ask him questions, and they're like, what do I do? And this, and he's like, it's very simple. He's like, follow your joy, and your passion until you can't go anymore. And then just see where that keeps taking you, so the seeing thing a lot of times is, yes, there's maybe a visionary long-term scene, but sometimes it's just right now. Like, okay, what's really super bright for me to do right now that brings me so much energy? And I know for a fact things that creatively sustain me is like spirituality and teaching, right?
Yeah.
And so podcasting like this and this platform is so invigorating. It doesn't matter what day or time it is. So before, during, and after, I'm just invigorated like I got 10 shots of Red Bull, and I don't even drink Red Bull, kind of a thing, right? But then there's other aspects where it's like maybe the daily work stuff is like, that feels really bright when I work with this client, but this aspect isn't so bright. How come? And maybe it's the administrative stuff. Maybe it's the political stuff. Maybe it's the county, whatever, administrative stuff. Yeah. So I've just been focusing on what is it that brings me the greatest passion and joy. And I clearly know that in my being, even when it feels scary or I feel nervous about it, right? Because I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I'm not sure, X, Y, Z. One thing was going to get my dive master certification. I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that. That looks hard and difficult and challenging. But I was like, oh, inside, right?
Yeah.
Scared and shaking my boots. I was like, oh my God, nervous and everything like that. But that passion was undeniable in amidst the mix of nervousness or the fears of unknowns. So that's what I've been following.
One audio note, your audio started to get a little wonky, but I think it just got better.
Okay.
It just cut out for like a second. I was like, oh no.
Oh no. Okay.
All right,
okay,
you're back. Good. We're just going to Yogi Ram Kumar. We got this.
Thank you. So yeah, so that's that. And what was your other question? Your second part of like how it's showing up?
Just like, how do you like dharmic momentum? How do you like evaluate, maximize your dharma per square inch, but also especially when new seeings and ideas come in there, like how do you evaluate like A to B and decide to do A or B? And then separate side of the sovereignty thing, now that you've made the space, what have you found yourself doing? Maybe that's surprising or the same, or what have you leaned into more? Like, what is the result of that been in your current manifestation? Nice small
Okay.
questions.
Yeah, small questions. Let me start with that one first because I feel like the answer to that one, I don't know about the other
Yeah.
question. What it's been showing up is really, really feeling the teaching aspect and the teaching of the spirituality as the big umbrella that also includes Buddhism, meditation, mindfulness. It includes an intelligent way of living where you can be
Yeah.
happy and free and peaceful because it's fucking possible.
Yeah. In this crazy ass world, it
In
turns
this
out.
crazy ass world. And I wish that and want that for every being on this planet freaking Earth. Honestly, I think
Yeah.
because I do see what's been going on, and I'm like, oh my god, no, like
Yeah.
this other thing is super possible. So that is what it's been looking like, and I think I spoke a little bit about that earlier. Aside from podcasting and stuff like that, is my upcoming workshop. I don't know if you did hear or see, but it's February 28th.
No.
Oh,
Wait,
it's
when?
relational alchemy. It's online. It's online.
Yeah, yeah, no, but what was the date? I missed it.
February 28th. I'll send you
Great.
the Ep thing. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific
We got to
Standard
do
Time.
plugs, so this is good. Relational alchemy, you said? Great name.
Yes, relational alchemy. So, where is it? I did send a little newsletter thing out on that, which was really fun to do. And essentially, we're going to be the workshop is integrating psychology, somatics, and energetic awareness. We'll do some energy visualization, energy based, chakra based visualizations, but essentially to
Yeah.
address relationships. That's with ourselves, with others. That can be in work, professional settings, in personal, intimate settings. It can be, friendship settings, about
Perfect.
boundaries, emotional regulation, how communication looks like within ourselves, maybe how that, looks with other, and really just getting everyone's nervous system into a supportive, safe place instead of chaos if people are, because I think a lot of people who are out there in the world, at least the people I run with, there's a sensitivity to the world, to the harshness. Maybe some of us are more intuitive slash psychic slash
Yep.
clairvoyant, audience, all this stuff like that, and that sensitivity adds to the noise if we're trying to dialogue and communicate
And
not only
also
with
like
ourselves.
loose ego boundaries, so they like relate to all the things happen, like they experience it all as just
Yes,
yes. Yeah,
empathics, all this stuff like that. So
excellent.
this is really a workshop to really get basic tools in place to really strengthen all these muscles that are available to us on the daily, and just kind of giving very clear direction around that, and also having
Yeah.
discussion for people who have maybe like, oh, this is unique to me, I have questions. So
Yeah.
I'm
Love.
very
What a
yay.
perfect alchemy of all of your skill sets in one thing.
Yes. And then the next one, if you can only imagine, and it's yet to be determined, I'm just putting the Evite event right in the chat,
Heck
is
yeah.
the next one I want to do is about sovereignty, emotional sovereignty, a workshop on that. And I think the culmination of these two and how they came together goes back to dharmic momentum and also being obedient to the call, is looking the past 4+ decades of my life. What have I
Yeah.
focused on, right? What have I felt like I've gained not only proficiency, but some sense of mastery around it, right? And also been
Yeah.
able to put this into work professionally into my life with psychotherapy. And that is relationship.
And it's also nice because, like, just to pinpoint this a little bit, because you're saying like you have 4 decades of experience of this, and like the best kind of content for anything is like I'm going to give you the greatest hits of that. Like, here's 4 decades worth of wisdom distilled into like
Absolutely.
a couple of actionable things. I think Ajahn said that at one point. He's just like, yeah, give away the secret. That's the best content. Like, what can beat it?
Exactly.
So let me ask you another thing. I'm just gonna keep asking questions.
Gosh, okay.
So you mentioned the word sovereignty multiple times, and I'm
Yeah.
curious, when did that word come in and become kind of, words have meaning, words have emotion. Like, when did you first tack on to that word? And
Mm.
like, what was the association there? Because it's not a word I've heard you use before, so it feels like recent that like somehow that
Oh,
became the representation or when did that come in?
great question. I think it was very much on the inner world happening, and now it's just a little bit more publicly shared.
Yeah.
I would say very much started when I left my former teacher and that study and that community, in that spiritual community.
Yeah.
And having more time away from that spiritual community and stuff like that, it's given me such a more balanced perspective because I feel like when I first initially left, there was a lot of emotions on
Yeah.
both fronts, specifically me, because I just felt so deeply, love and conflict and loss and and all
All
the
of it.
oh yeah stuff, right? And now that I have some more space and time around it, I feel so at peace and so in harmony with it because it was the necessary thing. It was the absolute obedience to the call that I needed to do. Not
Mm.
easy, not
I
easy.
heard a quote recently. You can't read the label if you're in the bottle. Like, only people out of the
Right.
bottle can read the label. And like that can have many dimensions and meanings and the thing, but like that's just what came to
Yeah.
mind as you were saying that.
Perfect. Perfect. Exactly. And so the the output of that, what that's looked like since that is me really learning to not only be on my own. And
Yeah.
initially I felt super scared, like I was stepping out of a huge shoebox that I'd been like hidden in, and comforted by. But looking back now, I totally see that was a necessary growth because I have so much that I feel coming through me to be offered in addition to everyone else that is offering beautiful, bright, teachings of light and love. And
Yeah.
in and around the sovereignty piece, I just very much recognize there is a alignment around the audience that and the people that I need to reach, whoever they might be. Call
Yeah.
them, heart warriors, leaders, pioneers. I
Your
think another
tribe. Yeah.
Yeah, the tribe thing. And I don't know if I'm like, oh yeah, I need to hit this like teacher student. I'm not really feeling that structure. I'm just really feeling like,
Yeah.
okay, I want to create this sovereign space that is me and everything I've learned and what has brought me to this place that I would love to share with those that also feel like, oh my gosh, you had that happen to you too. I was like, oh yes, let me tell you, and this is how I got out of it. Try that, see
Yeah.
if that helps for you. So that feels like the more teaching aspect of whatever
I
that might
love that.
be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other words besides sovereignty that have come up for you as like big words? I love like the words that people gravitate towards. Mine is osmosis. We'll get to that in a second. But any other words that have appeared out of the ether that feel relevant to now?
right now, in this like movement of the upcoming lunar year coming up is
Which is like
innovation.
right now, right? Like we're like in the shift. It's about to
We're in
start.
the shift. It's going to happen in like crossover February 17th. So absolutely, we're
Amazing.
in it. Is innovation. Innovation.
Innovation. Interesting. And where did you first encounter it in its current
Oh,
resonance?
okay. So I came across this in my astrological reading with Mudra, and this was actually 2 years ago. Happened to be cleaning through stuff, part of like the New Year's resolution, cleaning closets, emails, going through old books and
Yeah.
journals. Came across my notes, and I was like, "Ooh, what is this?" Kind of went through those notes, and one of the aspects he spoke about is my astrological sign has this born Libra, but turned kind of Scorpio with however the shifts in the chart. So I have that the aesthetic, the harmony, the beauty relationship piece, right? But then I have the
Yeah.
intensity with the Scorpio. And one
Well,
of the things,
it's
yeah. And so one of the things he was saying is you have this incredible ability to be very innovative and like um, find new solutions to problems that people don't necessarily see, like in the forefront. And he was
yeah.
giving me examples, like I was like crazy examples, and giving me like these role models. Like one of them was it Madonna? I want to say one of them was Abraham Lincoln. I was like, oh my gosh, those are big shoes. But
I
also
always thought of
very
you of Madonna, Abraham Lincoln hybrid, so that tracks.
right, and it totally made me think of Rama,
Yeah.
root guru lineage, because he was such a pioneer and innovator. And I recognize that a lot of people have a lot
Mm.
of different things and thoughts about his teachings and lineage. But I think what I come to realize in my deep love for him
Yeah.
is he brought something that was innovative to his time. So for
Yeah.
us to try and continue to use that template now, it's like an old OS. It's going to be glitchy. It's going to be buggy. It doesn't work right now.
I've
But
been
it's not to
reflecting a lot
say,
about this. Are you going to that ABS thing where they're going to be talking about this? There's some prompts
no,
related to this.
no. Oh, I'm
It's
curious to hear.
keep going on this. Keep going on this.
To share, Mama. Okay. So with that being said, I just recognize like, and when I tap into Rama and his vibe, he was absolutely pushing the boundaries, of his time. And that's something
Yeah.
similar vein, but me embodied here now in this day. How do I, innovatively share, spirituality, efficient, skillful living, that can be happy,
Yeah.
joyful, peaceful, and free in a time where AI is so, on the edge, and tech and the world is on fire. There's freaking wars are happening. Like, it's just crazy. And
Yeah.
I don't have a specific right now answer except for the teachings and the sharings of the workshops and stuff on educational piece at this time and tools and
Yeah.
resources in that way. Yeah.
Hmm. Very, very interesting.
Okay. Now it's your turn to share. I want to hear everything back on you questions.
All right, where I forgot already where we went. We're gonna go a lot of places today. I can just feel it. Where to start? We'll start with
Dharma.
words. I'm very interested in words right now. So my words, and I come to I'll back up to Dharma Momentum. So
Mm-hmm.
Dharma Momentum, something I've been reflecting on a lot, and especially it's interesting. And we were talking about this at our last meeting. Like I tend to work in a 3-year cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm entering year 3 of my current 3-year cycle, which
Mm-hmm.
is previous 3 years, I'm running the monastery in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Yeah.
I'm like full-time abbot in the woods, hardcore. We're having events. I gave 100 Dharma talks probably in those 3 years. Crazy adventures, just
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
And then I'm in this 3-year mark, which is like that transitioned. I moved, the job changed, all these focuses changed. Our teacher transitioned out. There's this new Sangha with like all these new inputs, and like none of that has stabilized in all the like really fun ways, which is why I always enjoy these conversations because we're enjoying like two very tantrically aligned but very different parts of the same coin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so interesting because it both has to do with identity and finding your identity within these things because it is fundamentally different than the thing that was holding it in its container for like years. And like
Right.
how fun and wild that is. So like there's a through line to this that will intersect, which is why I always enjoy our conversations because they give such like cool resonance to that. But anyway, so I'm 2 years into a 3-year cycle, and it's very interesting because this year is marked with a lot of adventures and openness. And it has to do with like how my workings of dharmic momentum and seeing happen. This is why I'm always curious in others, because
Mm.
mine are like, I have some things. Like I know my 7 things that give me gas, and like I can switch those around. Like this, I have a whole lifestyle
Yeah.
built around like I can pull any 5 levers at the same time and they kind of work with each other and it's a good dance. But the new piece that I've really been exploring, especially in these last 3 years, is kind of this openness and expansion into adventure and especially unexpected things. Because like left to my own devices, like I'll just kind of set up 5 caves and go for it, and I can get a lot of enjoyment for a long time in that configuration, and like never feel a wall there because I'm just like the inner world is so rich. If I just sat around and made music all day, like I could do that forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like the new interesting thing, which has to do is like really as I've developed my seeing for the last few years, is I describe it like a puzzle piece, which is that like I get a lot of puzzle pieces. Flies out in the air. I'm sitting in Shasta, one comes in. I'm like, they don't connect. Sometimes they don't connect together. Sometimes they don't connect to the other thing. But like how those fluidly move in and out and the significance of that and the exploration of those. Whereas before I'd be like, I'm doing my 5 things. I'm focused. I don't have time for the puzzle piece right now. Like I really flip that and be like, oh, this is puzzle piece is interesting. Like, I wonder if it plugs in here, plugs in here. Maybe I need to go to Shasta and have a seeing about this puzzle piece to like see if it unlocks the thing. Because that is how it works. Like you have the puzzle piece, and then through intention and accident and adventure, you
Mhm.
accidentally find the thing that it plugs into. You're like, oh, I didn't know that that was there. I wouldn't have expected that. So like actually following that and not having so much like it makes linear sense. Like it doesn't need to make linear sense. Like I've trained myself now very strongly to like that's the Dharma. Find out what it plugs into. Don't overthink when you fit the connection point because it's just doing the thing is going to unlock the thing, and like you don't have to worry so much about the end game. So it's like a very like inside out approach than how I've approached everything on my path. And it's leading to some very interesting results, which I have no idea what they are. But like the through line of that, especially for the last 6 months, and like you've seen it on my Instagram feed, like I've gone to a lot of places of power stacked in like a
Yeah.
hyper compressed. I've been on like a
Yeah.
6 month power trip, and like
Wow.
we're about to kick off 4 more months of that because house over here is getting rented. And literally how this all came together is we were driving down to go to Disneyland
Mhm.
and we're like, we've been in Hawaii for the last 3 months. It's been beautiful. It's been great. But it's like, there's a puzzle piece that needs to get plugged into something. And we're like, well, what should we do? How will that all work? And literally 1 minute later, text message from the long-term renter that rented the house a couple years ago. And it's like, hey, I want to come back in 3 weeks for like 5 months. We're like, yes. Before knowing what are we going to do, where are we going to live, all of those, just yes first. We're just talking about it. He just texted. That's important. Say yes. We'll figure out the details of it later, and that
Wow.
will manifest the next couple of months
Yes,
of it,
that's right.
which is going to take us, a couple weeks in Ensabrego, plural, which will be very interesting. If I come on the next podcast with a wild beard and like a look in my eyes,
Oh my God.
we'll see. Maybe we'll hang out there. It'll be fun.
I hope so.
Um,
I hope so.
so there's kind of it's not it's a flip side of what you're saying with sovereignty, and like I don't quite know the word for it, but like there's a joy aspect and there's a seeing aspect, and it's a not overthinking it and just like doing the thing, and the process of doing the thing unlocks the path, and that's essentially a version of what you were saying. So
Mm.
there's something about joy and like that discovery piece that's been very significant. The other word that just came up recently, osmosis. I'm like, I
Yeah.
didn't even I've heard that word. Like it's a science thing. There's a thing like you learn it through osmosis, and it's always a joke. Like you could fall asleep in
Oh,
class, but like you learn it through osmosis.
exactly.
And I found myself using it in a meditation class to describe like, meditation is this wonderful personal practice, but like the real secret teaching that we've learned is like what accelerates it, especially like really accelerates it, is you put yourself in the proximity of other advanced meditators, and something happens in the margins of that invisibly where you all kind of like restabilize, which is what osmosis is. It's a way of like water molecules can like restabilize, in
Oh,
this configuration. and like they all kind of get some of this and it balances out as a group, which has very much been also the part of my adventure and what's going on with our Sangha community and everything. Like there's this group terma in it that is unlocking, that's like osmosis, and there's some magic to
Wow.
that
Whoa.
even just like saying it out loud, I couldn't think because like I didn't, it's not a word that I looked up. It's not on TV. It just, I found it flying out of my mouth one day and I'm like, that's a very interesting word. Like, where did that come from? It's a puzzle piece. Now I have to go look up on Wikipedia what osmosis means and ask ChatGPT to simplify it because that was a little complicated. And I'm like, oh, I can see the thing. And then I see that pattern in another thing. And I remind, like, that's how the journey of the seeing goes. Um, so that's been a lot of my current state.
You just gave me a crazy scene when you're talking about osmosis and the way it's kind of rippling out in your little Sangha group. Is I just felt like this opening of like a flood of gold water, like liquid flowing forward from you amidst all of you guys. That's beautiful.
So that's
Beautiful.
fun. Another word, as you were talking, as and like, thinking about our expressions, like we all have this unique expression that's grounded from this lineage of enlightenment that we all pull from, but it comes out in very different ways and like really enjoying that. But the word that comes to mind is remix in mine,
Hmm.
because my manifestation of it, and I'll finish my thought and then I'll go to the other one. My manifestation of it is really as a remixer. Because like Rama was the innovator, like
Hmm.
I'm inventing this structure that is insane in the 80s, that's a manifestation of all these other things and pulls it in construction in some special way.
Yes.
So he's like, the chief, the innovator. I studied for 17 years with the Ajahn, who is sensei, like sensei model. I learned from a good teacher. I learned from Oshima. I'll teach you perfect technique. You will learn the technique to perfection. And like, that's what we're doing. And if you look at my contribution to that, it's as a remixer because I have beautiful reverence for the root things, but I'm in no way like traditionalist and like it can only be this
Right.
way. And because
Right.
it was said this way in 1986, is that way forever. Like mine is a much more free-form experimental version of that, of like, how do we take these root components and in 2026 January put them in an interesting way that meets the moment of someone who's been watching the news of what's happening in Minneapolis right now for the last week. Like that's the interesting thing. And it's very similar to what you're talking about because it's like, it's not just running the old OS, but the old OS is really important. But there's something about the old OS with ROS and the newness in the moment and that like osmosis meets in the middle and creates something. And I think like we're all coming, and I say we, like our group, our
Hmm.
group in the wider sense is all coming to an interesting like elevation of our version of that in a way that feels very different than even just a year ago, like fundamentally different. And again,
You
I'm
know
saying
what?
this all for the first time to myself, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Like that is like happening. But it's like you don't see it because sometimes it's talking to someone else. You see outside the bottle a little bit. And you're like, oh,
Totally.
a
And
link.
totally. And I want to do a little plug for you because what you're talking about with this remix energy, it totally makes me think of the song that you put out in your latest album with Vayu of Bodhisattva World Tour. Love that song. And all the stuff that's happening in it that has the clear, like Rama, light of enlightenment energy through it. But it's remixed. It's totally remixed. And it felt very remixed for today, to be
Yeah.
able
Do you
to
know that? Did I tell you
tap
the
in.
story about the sides of the album?
I think so, but please share more
Okay,
again.
for the benefit. So we're
Yes.
talking about on January 1st, 2026, Music Yoga, which is creating light infused meditation music. We released a new meditation album, but it was very different in many ways because it was a first project under a completely new moniker. So for
Mm,
17 years in our previous Sangha, there was a music yoga project and it released music under Vayu Meditation. I contributed to all sorts of the albums,
mm,
all sorts of wonderful things. In this shift that we're
mhm.
going through as this new Sangha and this collective, and it's not head teacher, like all of the things, it became abundantly clear that like, oh, that was an old thing. And like there needs to be a new thing if that replaces it. And what do we want to replace it? It's not the same. It's not different. What's the remix that like this one is? So
Ah,
Lumikara is the band name. It means light maker, and it
what that is.
specifically refers to, the process of infusing light through yogic magic into music. You're using light to create something. So the name was fitting and it was available, which was another key part of it because turns out
Wow.
naming bands is really hard. But I love the name, and we released this album and it has three sides. And the whole like dimensionality of the album is meant to like throw very wide arms around all these dimensions that we work with in our Sangha.
Hmm.
But side
Yeah.
A is
Mhm.
very much like this is paying reference to the past and like maybe sounds a little bit like what we would have released in, one of the previous projects.
Mm.
Side B is like, here's a very different thing that is a lot more tuned to like modern meditation music and like intentionally tries to do a couple of different things. And like for me, who teaches intro meditation classes, sometimes playing some crazy stuff with like a flute is like, people are like, what are we doing here? So
Oh,
we
I
need
got you.
something that like plays well with, expectations, but it still has that same punch. And then side C, which is the song that you referred to, where it comes
I
from,
love. I love it.
literally, it came from Vayu, one of my peers, had sent me a song idea, which became Past Life Party. And I said, wow, this song sounds like what Rama would have put on at like a Guggenheim party in 1989. And I'm like, what if we had a couple songs that sounded like that like maybe they're not even meditation songs, but like have that infusion, but could work in another venue? And this is really like the genesis of this project. It's releasing our grasp on like it has to be meditation music that can only experience one way. It's like, well, what if it's like dance party music, but that does that? What if there's an album that's driving music, which ironically is one of the original ideas of Zazen, the original music yoga band. It was never intended to be
Good.
meditation music. They had like,
Oh,
here's kind of soft rock music that let's see if it's commercially viable that would be on like easy listening radio. Here's like a heavy metal album that would like work in this other thing. And by the way, there's a meditation. So there was always this thing. And like, it's like a return to origin. It's the same thing, but it's a new thing and it's 2026. So there's a lot of that kind of built into this.
you
But that song in
see?
particular, like
Yes.
has a very much like Guggenheim dance party, New Year's Eve, everyone's in a tuxedo, like that's like printed all over that.
So high, so pristine, so bright. Yeah, light filled. I love it. I love that one.
It was
Yeah.
light made.
Yes, it
Very
was.
fun.
Yes. We totally have to put the link for that for people who are listening to check that out. But yeah, love your new album. And thank you for explaining that new band name, Lou McCara.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
A
cool. Very
lot
cool.
of seeing went into like more mystical technology per square inch in this than anything that I've consciously been a part of before. Like it's very interesting, the packaging of this. And
Wow.
it came from like a very distinct seeing that I had August 2023. Like I remember the date, I could show you the journal entry page, but it was when in the transition of our teacher who had transitioned out of the Sangha into a different Dharma. And he was
Hmm.
essentially, here's the keys to the kingdom. And
Yeah.
we had an in-person event, and it was the creation of this mandala. Like instead of
Right.
being this thing that I'm doing and whatever, like it's a thing that you guys are doing. And so the connections to each other, like we're going to create actually a different second attention structure for it.
Correct.
In that meditation for this thing, it was like a scroll unfolded in my second attention of like music yoga, do this, then this, then this. It was basically like a 20-year plan of like music yoga. And like this is the first domino finally, like, all right, now we can knock that second one over. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm so excited. So, is the release date for ongoing music still kind of based on solstices and equinoxes, or no? It's to be
I'd like to
determined.
release four things this year.
Of music albums.
Yes.
Of
So we're
wow.
working on a Shasta album or mini album or something, some complete collection of something
Yay!
that for summer solstice, and I think there'll be one or two more things. I'm getting a strong seeing for a Big Sur Carmel Valley, like double, like three songs about Big Sur, three songs about Carmel that would like exist as one thing.
Okay, I'm so excited. I'm so
Me too.
excited.
Me too. But it's excitement. Like excitement is my just to take it back to the original question. Like dharmic
Yes.
momentum, like mine appears in the form of excitement and enthusiasm. So it's always very easy to see like, okay, three things come in, which is the one I'm excited about. Probably there's something there, and once you start tugging on that a little bit, it's like, oh, we got to do all this other stuff.
Okay, well, I have kind
Suddenly
of like,
find all this energy that wasn't there before to do all sorts of things.
but I want to play devil's advocate on that because I feel like in our interactions, I never not see you excited. So,
Well, that's because I only do things that provide dharmic momentum that are exciting. So it creates a self-fulfilling loop of energy and enthusiasm. It's not quite like that, but it's also not like that. And actually, this is something I learned from Ajahn after like watching him very closely for 17 years. Like his trick was very simple. This is my teacher, is that like what he trained us very strongly in is like there's empowered practices. And here's 9 of them that you will master all 9. And
yes.
like the trick is I just never saw him not touching one of those 9 things. Like he was shifting around, he would do a million different things, but it's always because it was consciously connected to one of these 9 things. And there just wasn't a point where he wasn't not doing that.
And are you just randomly saying number 9, or I mean, are you actually referencing specific 9 things? Because if you are, I want to hear what that.
9 things like core practices, like meditation, mindfulness, compassion, music, yoga, scuba diving, martial arts, technology, starting technology companies, and food and restaurants. Oh, and teaching. 10 things. There's 10 levers. You can, grab kind of like 2 of them at a time, maybe a third if you use an elbow, and like you can remix it into whatever you want.
Yes,
and like that's what creates the newness. That's what creates the excitement. That's what keeps it vibrant. And that's what keeps it not routine practice. It's like, yeah, you may have pulled the same lever 1,000 times, but like not with that thing at this time. Like it's always a concoction when you combine it with the moment and the dharma and what's happening. And I'm like very second attention in this, but like I'm trying to explain.
No, I hearing this.
Trying to explain a machine that doesn't exist in this world, but I think you got it.
But I'm also, you're giving me insight I want to share about my kind of second intention scene that's very different to yours, but it's like
tag in.
Yeah, is you're like machine structures, all this stuff like that. And for me, the one experience I had recently was it was just gold light in the center of my heart, and I was just like floating in space, kind of like a Captain Marvel, where they're just in space and fly, and they're just like, no, right? And there's no ground, there's no like a specific structure around me, but yet it's all there as a way of talking about it through and in me through this light. Yeah. So it's also been like what you're talking about, because I feel like in your exploration and adventuring, you have super tapped into this, what I call this ability to find ground in groundlessness. Right?
Ooh, that's a very good.
It's one of my talks I put on YouTube. Right? It's this ability, and it's very mystical, and it has a very tantric aspect where how are you moving things in a very grounded, forward, relative, physical world way, while it's very intangible, and you're putting pieces together. And I was, listening to your process. I'm like, goodness gracious, what does that look like? Feel like? When a piece actually fits, like what does that look like for you in the real world, this world? Second intention I hear. Yeah. What does that look like? Can you explain?
What comes to mind, which isn't exactly the question you asked, but like I think the secret teaching of the lineage is impeccability. Because like what I'm describing and like the energy behind it is, you're right. It's like very ungrounded, very like raw, very primordial force energy. And as we all know, sometimes like you just get caught in it, and it's like, oh, you got to also exist on planet Earth and like go to work on Monday and do these things. And like impeccability is that weird duct tape that like,
oh, why do you think duct tape? Yeah, what do you
duct tape? It's everything. It takes those 10,000 dimensions of second intention and like duct tapes you a little bit also to the world, and like, it'll kind of hold as long as it needs to hold. And,
okay,
and you go to work Tuesday.
The next party we have together, we need to bring duct tape and just put impeccability on it in black Sharpie
Yeah.
marker.
But that is the difference. And like, having now networked with all sorts of like spiritual teachers and lineages, it's something that like increasingly feels very unique to the one that we both share, is that like you go into some high crazy places and like that's great, but like you're also there operating with like very impeccable sharp tonal. Like there's the story Ajahn used to always talk about Rama, where like after like he would push his meditation super crazy, like meditate for 4 hours in the morning and then immediately get up from meditation and go on one of those balance boards, because like that to him was the proof, like I'm there but I'm here. And it's like
Ooh,
both of
yeah.
those very strongly, it's like together is the thing. Because if you have one strong, you're going to float off into outer space. And if you have the other strong, you're going to be welded to the ground. And like both are
Yeah.
important, but it's like it's the in the world of the world, both at the same time. That's the Tantra, right? Like that
I think
he
that makes
figured
us
out somewhere
literally
on the
crazy.
slider is like this is a middle that is unexplored. That
Yes.
2 hours ago, I was on a sales call, like going through very detailed technical requirements, like pay attention, whatever. But like you can also do that and be the duct tape extends to some other interesting places.
Okay, so I'm curious, what's your definition? How when you're using impeccability, what's your definition of that? How would you describe that? Explain it.
It's what a good question. I mean, like this goes back to the Castaneda books and just kind of
Yes.
like the mysticism language. So like
Yes. Yes.
I'm not prepared to give you the dictionary definition right now, but as I like
No, give your
as I
definition.
would articulate that,
Yes.
it's the ability to do the thing to the best of your ability. It's not to do it perfectly. It's like it's different than perfectionism, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like here's what needs to be done. I'm going to do it completely, but like no more and no less, and not half-assing it. Because this is the thing. Like when Don Juan says in the Castaneda books, like there's really only one choice at the end of the day for a mystic: am I impeccable or not? And I take that as like, are you going to do the thing that you need to do to the level that you know deep down that you need to do it? Or are you going to half ass it? And like, from experience that half assing it is never going to lead to anything positive or fun. So you might as well just skip the struggle and like do the thing fully. But it's
Fully.
not perfectionism. It's like a very interesting little tantric middle ground. So
Okay. If
what is your definition of impeccability? How do you practice that? And
I I agree wholeheartedly with your explanation. I would reference two things from that is the four agreements. And in the
yeah,
four agreements, they talk about impeccability in the form of always do your best. Don't take anything
yes,
personally,
that's a
right? Don't
great,
make
yeah,
any
always do
assumptions.
the best.
So I think of impeccability as if we're always doing our best, no matter what day, no matter how we're feeling physically, emotionally, spiritually, it's like if we're still doing our best, the best is considered 100%, you know, but
Yes,
that 100% could look different after 3 hours of sleep where you kind of feel a little cruddy, but you are doing your 100% at that level. So that best, I've spoken
yeah,
this, it trajectory wise, it will keep you in this like relative world of being, you're
yeah,
always pushing up against the best at the ceiling, and that
yeah,
inevitably reaches higher and higher. And as my former teacher would describe it, it's you put in 100% of whatever it is your best that day, that moment, that thing, and then eternity brings the other 8%. And that's how they get to the 108, I guess.
I love that. That's a really good analogy. I like that.
That's like the magic piece, right? Because, like you
Yeah,
said, you're right. It's not perfectionism. It's not about control, right? But it's
yeah,
you just bring everything you got to the table, and then you surrender after 100%. You're like, all right, and that 8% happens, and it's beautiful. It's magical, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Every unbelievably positive experience I've ever had in my life has come from that exact thing that you described, like getting to the 100% and just fuck it, let's see what happens next. And beautiful things happen. I can count very few experiences where I'm at 64% and do the same thing and have the same results. So it's like that's the fun part.
It is fascinating. Yeah. And I feel like there's a state of mind that comes with that. Like you said, you're like, well, I could half-ass it and then suffer the consequences with all that resistance and whatever, whatever, or I can just be all in and just fucking do it, and then it just comes out way better and brighter.
And the interesting flip that we both experienced that you referenced earlier, that I'm glad you just brought up to clock, is that like on our spiritual path, there's a point where it changes like pretty dramatically. Cause like at some point, if you just opt into the things that are like your things, it's like you can't experience selflessness and a way out of that thing. You're just like so fixed in this container. And like so much of like the first, I'll say half, 2/3, 3/4, like the path that we're on is like, get out of yourself, get out of yourself, do this thing that pushes you beyond the thing. Here's your comfort zone, go outside of it, da, da, da,
Right.
and then all of a sudden there's like, oh, by the way, actually like your manifestation of it, like you have to go through that training or else the second part doesn't work. But the second part is very interesting because it's actually leaning back into the things that are like innately you. Because it's like, yeah, well, what can I give 100% to? It's like the things that are going to like ignite the light or I can help the most people. And it's a very different thing if it's like, hey, do this thing that's unfamiliar that you aren't really that aligned. Like, I probably can't give that 100%. And that's probably not something that's worth doing right now when I can index on something that'll get to that 108% that we know is where the magic happens. So it's like a very interesting little, they don't put that on the label, but if you read the fine print that's referenced on the website, like they mention that somewhere.
I think you just explained a koan.
That's what we call this episode, Koan-splaining.
Oh my God.
Well, like, did they talk about anything? They explained some koans. I don't know. It was pretty hard to follow, to be honest.
You should make a modern day koan book or something like that. But what was I gonna? Oh, did you answer the question of like what it does look like in the second intention when pieces of puzzles come to you, right? And then it actually fits, and now it's in the physical world. Can you share a little bit about that experience of what that looks like?
Ooh, I feel highly like second intention, but let me take a swing at it.
Yeah.
Like in the second intention, literally, like in my mind's eye, like it looks like a puzzle piece. Like that is the shape and representation of the thing. Actually, I'll give two answers to this because like some things will come in as like in my process, like it's usually from a seeing first. Like there's a seeing, there's an inkling, and it has some shape to it. Call it a puzzle piece. That's one version of it. Another version is like once I've had that, and this is my experience, like I had this very distinct seeing about music yoga in 2023.
Right.
And like the interesting thing is there's a symbol associated with that too. And much like the movie 22, I think it's 22 with Jim Carrey. I didn't see it where he goes crazy because he just sees the 22 everywhere. Like I started seeing that symbol like in the world. Oh. And it was always a clue to pay attention to the thing right now because it relates to the thing that you saw then. So it's kind of like, that's how you know to pick that berry and put it in the basket because like now it had a symbol associated to it.
Ooh, I got goosebumps.
So like when it comes, it's like there's a puzzle piece, so there's a shape, and like mine are always like very simple shapes. Like I can draw you the music one, for the listeners at home.
The drawing ruin.
It was an 8-sided sparkle that looks like this. And every time since then that I've seen one of these, there's been something very significant right in front of it, around it, happening at that time that like made me notice that and like, oh, that belongs to this, and like put it in the bag. Including, I was at a concert. I was seeing the band Polo and Pan at Stanford with one of the guys from Gold Record. And we're literally like on this concert, and I'm like, oh, this reminds me of that thing that I saw in that meditation that one time in 2023. And literally on the Jumbotron behind them, this. The universe was like, yeah, that's right.
I've seen you post photos that you've taken on Instagram of similar.
That's why I do that. So I remind myself, okay, my Instagram, there's a very separate whole conversation. Like my Instagram is its own like mystical playground of like archives. But I do that because there was a moment related to that which I wanted to capture. And when I look at my own Instagram feed, 8 months ago at the Polo and Pan concert, there was that, and like I'm there. Like my storing power has gotten very multidimensional these days, but that's how it looks in the real world. Like there's
I see.
Thing comes in a symbol, but like in the like when it connects, it's like when you put the shape in the hole for the shape. It's like, that like it's just obvious.
That's
which is a
great,
terrible
Sambhava.
answer. How do you know? It's just obvious.
Explanation. I get
So
this.
unhelpful for anyone to utilize, but like that is what it feels like. It's just like, oh, sky is blue. Of course, that. It goes into that. And it's the shape.
But I think what you're talking about is what people maybe use in spiritual paths of omens and signs, right? They find something that they've probably been capturing in their second intention that they feel meaningful and come across it in some frequency that is actually pointing to something. They probably wouldn't be able
And
to
I
word it
follow
like
those
you.
unquestionably, by the way. Like
That's
I've
great.
learned through training. Like those are important, whether they amount to anything or not. Like I just do it unquestionably. I'm curious, speaking of omens and things like that, I need your answer to this too before we go too deep down the rabbit hole.
I don't know if I have what's the I don't know if I have an answer. What's the question?
I don't know if
Like
I have a
how do
question.
what's fascinating? I don't know if this answers your question, but it's fun. It's fascinating. I'm not an astrologist or anything like that, but I generally read the horoscopal things, if that's even a word.
So you are
And
an astrologist a little.
a little,
Just so
a little bit.
that's
And
what an
what,
astrologist does, just
oh,
in
really?
case you're
Oh,
curious.
okay. I don't really think of that serious, but okay. So I like to keep my finger on the pulse of things. And what I read recently, which was interesting for me, you talking about your 3 year cycle. I guess my sign has been going through with planetary changes. I don't remember the exact ones. I went through a 14-year cycle. And in this 14-year cycle, the last couple of years have been very intense. And I was like, oh yeah. And kind of hindsight 2020, this sense of intensity feeling like foggy, like getting some pushback on things, like things aren't really flowing. I mean, things have flowed well, but on some hands, you're like, why is that feeling so difficult as a way of talking about it?
Yeah.
But then kind of surrendering and relinquishing that to like chalk it up to the craziness of the world. And there's just a lot of shit that it has to move through to.
Yeah.
But recently the finger on the pulse is mentioning that this fog is kind of lifting, creating this new cycle, and a lot of things are opening back up in this clarity. And what I've experienced it as is this innate sense of support and resourcedness. Not anything maybe necessarily tangibly. I mean, I can reference tangible things that are and have been the same since a year ago or a couple years ago,
Yeah.
but it feels and is being experienced differently.
Very differently.
That makes sense. There needs to be a word for that. But I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not like it's not a return to origin, but it's like a re-experience, but it's different. Yeah, there needs to be a word for it. I'm sure there is one. We'll find it and post it in the show notes.
But yeah, and so I'm very excited around the omens and signs that have been coming. That isn't one specific thing like yours, which is like the 8 point. It's all the things that I feel like culminate to, for me, things that are a positive alignment thing. Like for me, a big thing is hawks. For a while, people spoke about how hawks represented Rama's energy, like back in the day. I don't know if that's true.
Oh, I haven't heard that, but there's a hawk that flies over Kona Paradise, actually. I was actually just going to see if I could see it right now. So that's
Oh,
very interesting that you mentioned
fascinating.
that.
And then when I look up animal symbology, because I love animal
Yeah.
symbolism, the hawk talks about the feminine power piece. And so,
Ooh.
yes, I love it. So I love the way omens or signs come to me, usually is in nature.
Yeah.
Like today, I just like staring out my kitchen window. I was just drinking tea or prepping tea or washing dishes. I can't remember. Two yellow butterflies, the happiest, fluffiest little butterflies, were just flitting around, kind of playing chase, kind of playing, just playing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, yes.
That's it.
Yes. Yeah. Like that. Like that.
I love that. I love in the Castaneda books, Don Juan says it's like he calls them agreements.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, like either there's something where like a coffee machine gurgles, like after he says something, he's like an agreement.
Right.
That one thing alone has been like an unbelievable dividend of the last 20 years of just like noticing actually the agreements and things, because there are like things will start singing to you when it happens, like that butterfly experience when it's like in the when you're in the state or the osmosis is working. I don't know, whatever the analogy is, but like there
Yeah.
is something to that that's very hard to explain. It's very individually experienced because
Yes. Yes.
some people are so kinesthetic, some people are like very literal
Right.
with the things. Like
Right.
mine is through weird sparkles that like it's
No,
that will
and
make
and
no
some,
sense to anyone, but it makes perfect sense to me.
but some people are into numbers, you know, it's like the one, right, so it's like it shows up in how it's changed for you. Yes. And I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it. Okay, we've gone an hour and a half. I am gonna need to go to a scuba dive soon. Are we at
Oh, yeah.
closing question time for today? That
Sure. Yeah. Let's closing
the
question.
closing question? I'm
No.
trying to think of one.
Think of one.
I'll ask a big one then.
No. Okay.
In your current state of awareness, what is like the highest spiritual truth that resonates with you? Or just like something, if you were to summarize all of existence in a quote, in a pull quote for the world, which one would you pull from right now?
I would say the quote I heard last night in my martial arts Aikido class, which was, you could be slow and light, but you also can be fast light.
You can be
And
slow and light.
And you also can be fast and light. And this, in the martial arts terminology, just give some context to the people who are listening, is in Aikido that the techniques we practice, there is so much more focus on maintaining your own balance and therefore affecting your attacker's balance to be able to get them off balance. And a lot of times what we have to train through is we have to train through trying to muscle them down, to like make them go do something when they're like, I don't want to go do it. And Aikido, and the whole premise and philosophy of harmony and peacefulness in your relationships, it's not the I will force you to do something. It's like, oh, you don't want to do that? Are you sure? Okay, well then do this instead. And they're like, oh, but no. Oh, but okay, fine. Right? Because it's a matter of kind of like, if you're taking a square, you're like tipping them on corners and edges, and they're like, oh my gosh, and following over themselves until the technique has been performed and you've pinned them and you've thrown them XYZ. But what this references to last night's class with the technique is, we were going very slowly because there were some beginners there to really trying to emphasize the finer details of it. And so how to go slow but be light about it, in the sense that you are still executing the technique correctly. And then the teacher then demonstrated, he's like, even though you're going slow and correctly or lightly, don't think that this can't be applied quickly and lightly. And he demonstrated it in exactly the same way through his proficiency of his years, right?
Yeah, wow.
And I just thought, how is that such a mystical thing for our path and practice? Because yes, it can be light filled and slow. And also because I'm so used to Rama's fast path, right? It can also be light filled and fast, right? And I'm very familiar with fast. My husband teases me that I like to be quickly, fastly done.
Quickly, fastly done. I like that too. You can be slow and light, or you can be fast and light. That was the quote?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah. So go ahead.
I have two. That's cheating, but I'll cheat. I made the rules, so I'll cheat.
Yeah.
So an interesting quote that came to me. I've been a whole separate podcast. Very abnormally into AI recently, and I feel like this is actually a very pivotal year in AI in a lot of ways. I work for an AI company. Like, there's just something in the moment. Like, we're in an inflection point moment. Like that. Like, big things are going to happen, and the capabilities of what it can do and uncover is very interesting. And I'm a realist on this. Like, I don't think it's going to, replace civilization. We'll all be make money for us, just so we're clear. But like, it's very interesting because what I've been using it to do as part of my like remixer experience of Light in the Lineage is, it's like, now there's this ocean that I can stuff all this content into. I have like everything that Rama ever said in a file that I feed the machine. I have 800 Dharma talks from my teacher, 100 Dharma talks that I've gotten, everything I've ever written. You know, I've like 17 years of like extremely dense experience
Yeah.
in this thing that is aware of all of it. And is interesting. This is one of the ABS. I'm going to send you the ABS prompts. They're actually very interesting. And they've been like a
Okay.
terma and just kind of answering themselves. Side note. But
Oh, yes, please.
so periodically, like, because I have all these things, it is very interesting to like be able to, you know, ping the mainframe and be like, hey, you know, summarize all this.
Yes.
You know, and something that I'm thinking of. So I asked it to, I was working on a project. I've been collecting, you know, stories of people who have had liberation experiences and putting
Ooh,
it,
you have?
it will become a book, you know, one of
Yeah.
many levers that I'm playing with right now. So I have like 35 of these right now. And
Ooh.
it's very interesting when you kind of like look for the patterns and the consistencies and the differences.
Yes.
And it's interesting in every way you kind of look at it. But one of the things, as I was kind of playing with the data and summarizing it, that it said was, you know, it's like, give me an insight about liberation. And it was liberation revealed no final arrival, no permanent state, only only increasing intimacy with reality. Liberation revealed no final arrival, no permanent state, only increasing intimacy with reality. And if that isn't the damn thing on
Wow.
the nose, I don't know what is. So
Oh, wow.
that's very like that insight wasn't hidden in reading all this, but it's sometimes very interesting. And like you get an out of the bottle experience to read the label when like the thing that is aware of all of it can actually point out something that like might be in
Yeah.
front of your nose, but the other side of the block. So that was one.
No, I love
And
it.
then
Thank you, Chad.
I have to pull an old classic because love is the strongest force in the universe. Like I have yet to find a higher truth than that. That's of course a classic Rama quote for the audience, but there is something like so speaking of termas, like that is a terma in and of itself that like
Yeah.
I feel like I've only scratched 1% of, and like will spend the rest of my life and the next several like getting to 5%. And like if this is the 1%, then 5%'s got to be like absolutely wild.
Wow. Oh, I love those two. Thank you for sharing those with me.
Thank you for
Yes.
sharing your. I'm literally it's written down next to the sparkle. Like
Oh,
I
I
will find
love our
myself.
time together. I
Me
love our.
so same. I treasure this, as you know. One funny story, maybe to end. Have you ever seen the movie L.A. Story with Steve Martin?
No, I need to watch
Um,
it.
it's a movie from the 80s. It's like
Uh,
Steve Martin and Carrie Bradshaw, whatever that actress's name is. And
uh-huh.
part of the plot line of the story is he drives down the LA freeway and there's a freeway sign that gives him like significant messages. And it's funny because it's like it's played as a joke of the thing, but like I find increasingly that this happens. And like I don't know if you have the same experience, so I'm asking out loud. It's like when I'm like really tuned in, it's like bumper stickers become very significant, freeway signs, like it feels like there's some kind of custom messaging that's like very individually tailored in a
Mm,
way that like sounds insane when you say it out loud, but like in lived experience is like, wow, I feel like I'm getting like very specific messages here that do not feel coincidental. And that's part of the fun seeing too. Because like in the past, I would have been like, oh, dismissive, but it's very interesting experience, like going all in on that. And like that's because those become very interesting puzzle pieces. So I feel like you saying that quote, that was like my bumper sticker moment. Like I wouldn't have encountered that in the wild, but now that it's put in front of me, like I feel like there's a part that plugs into that maybe I find on this dive after
ooh,
this.
I love it. I love it. No, thank you for saying that. I agree. The freeway stuff for sure happens. It like happens through semi, trucks, numbers.
Happens through
Like,
what's on the radio, like the
yes,
whole thing.
it's all the time. It's all the time. It's so beautiful. And also, absolutely, I feel like it makes us a little bit crazy because that's something that I've clarified with my husband and I. I was like, oh, you're dorky and I'm weird because this path makes me a little weird and crazy. That's
Yeah,
okay.
the trick is when you're in a household with two weirds, it gets
Yeah.
very weird.
What is
So
that?
it's like that. It's like that. It it's like that. No more I can say to it than that. Was saying two wrongs don't make a right. Two weirds don't make a normal. That's for sure.
That's for sure.